You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to part 2 of our Cabral HouseCall. Happy to have you back. Looking forward to being able to answer more of our community's questions. We have a lot of great questions coming in today, some from practitioners looking for some advice. We have others looking to balance female hormones. I'm looking at another one here right now with gut issues with Candida, H. pylori, histamine issues, FODMAP issues. All sorts of great things to talk about today. So I'm excited. I want to get right into the show. I always give you basically my talk of how you can get your questions answered same day at CabralSupportGroup.com. You can email support at EquilibriumNutrition.com for any order-based questions. If you're looking to apply to the private practice, you can email support at StephenCabral.com. So I've given you that. I've spoken about that. Hopefully you tuned in yesterday to our Cabral House Calls where we answered more of our community's questions. But right now, I'm going to get right into it. So the first question is coming in from Tiffany. And Tiffany is asking, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. My patient took a genova stool test and it came back with low good bacteria. And it came back high for E. coli, Klebsiella, and Citrobacter, and other basically bacterial species. I'm new to this and wanted the absolute best for my patient, and she has gone through a lot with digestive issues and skin issues. Do you agree with my protocol below? I'm very open to tweaking. I have 2 phases. The first phase is Paragard for 20 days and a high-dose probiotic for 14. And then phase 2 is Berberine and moderate dosage of probiotics. I'm also using Pantoea enzyme with meals." So, Tiffany, it's a great question. I have answered these before, and I can't agree with the protocol, and it's not because I don't want to. It's because I understand where you're coming from. I get it. Like, it makes sense from the perspective where you're saying, okay, your client has low amounts of good bacteria, but basically higher amounts of bacteria that they shouldn't have in their gut. So, that makes sense. So you're adding in a probiotic that has 225 billion per dosage. So again, totally makes sense to me. So what I want to say, though, and it's really, something to look at, is that before you add in the good probiotics, you have to make space for it. So that's where we've gone wrong a lot in our industry. And again, of course, this is not your fault. We're not taught this. Even if you are a naturopathic doctor, you're not taught this specifically. And that's the problem. So what we need to do is really remove first before re-inoculating or adding back in the good. And you only have it for 14 days of a high probiotic. All of that is fine, but you're missing the biofilm disruptors and you're missing full spectrum antibacterials. So, the best thing I can do is, my recommendations, because this is what I've worked on for well over a decade. For myself, I've worked on it for 15 years, but then we came to all of our conclusions of what we needed about 7-8 years ago, and it was finally tweaked about 3 to 4 years ago where it was just perfect where we get the people the results they want. So that's our CBO protocol, our Candida and Bacterial Overgrowth protocol, plus Citracidal drops for 3 weeks, and it comes with all of this information for those people that show up high with bacterial overgrowth on a stool test. So that's what I recommend. That's what I do. And if you want to learn more about it, you can just type in Candida and Bacterial Overgrowth protocol, and I take you exactly through it because I give away all of my information. A lot of practitioners try to keep a secret what they do. It's not my goal. We are extremely booked as a practice, and what I'm trying to do now is teach my amazing group of integrative health practitioners with our certification online how to do all of this work and really help people. So, my goal is to do that, and your protocol is not long enough. It does not contain the antibacterials, the full spectrum enough first. Just using Paragard alone is not enough. And the probiotics are too early in the protocol before wiping out first and then re-inoculating or adding back in. So hopefully that helps some. I mean, you're on the right path, so it's not like you're doing great. You are doing great, and this is just the journey that we all go through. So, again, like when I say it, it's from a place of wanting to help and caring. I know sometimes my intensity can come off in a different way, but I never mean it as that, meaning I was where you were, let's say 12 years ago. And so it's all part of the process. Like, makes sense, right? Low bacteria, you had good bacteria. But when you look at it from the perspective that there's only so much space in the intestines, and you have this massive overgrowth of E. coli and Klebsiella and Citrobacter, that you need to remove those first to clear some space and then add in the higher probiotic. Plus, you need to remove the biofilm, and that's like the secret that a lot of people are missing right now. I've been talking about it for 3 years on my podcast, and it hasn't caught on quite yet. But it will. There's a lot of doctors using biofilm disruptors for parasites and bacteria. It's not mainstream yet, but it will be. And the one we use is the Flora film that works, so great. But all right, that is that. And hopefully, again, if you're a practitioner, you can even become an ambassador for Equilibrium Nutrition and use the same products that I use in my practice as well. And you can find out more about that by just emailing ambassadors@equilibriumnutrition.com. All right. So Rachel's up next with her question. She's writing in, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. Love your podcast. I'm excited to finally be submitted a question. My question is focused on PCOS, getting off birth control, and preparing my body to get pregnant. I'm planning on stopping my birth control pills at the end of 2018 to give my body 6 months to cleanse itself and rebalance before trying to conceive. Diagnosed with PCOS, typical symptoms of facial hair, thinning hair in the head, and very irregular periods. I've been taking oral birth control for 5 years. Due to PCOS, I've had chronic cystic acne, a couple rounds of Accutane, which helped. My actually started to come back a few months, but not as bad before. I've had chronic digestive issues. I have loose stool, leaky gut, undigested food in the stool. Once I get off my birth control, I want to do a cleanse and heal my body. Do you suggest the 14 or 21 day detox, Candida or SIBO, heavy metal detox? I'm 30, 5'5", 135, work out 4 to 5 times a week, take some good supplements. All right, great. Let's help you with this question. This is very common in our practice since we help so many women before pregnancy, because just like you, trying to get that body as healthy as possible, and then while pregnant, and of course, post-pregnancy as well. So, well, what do I recommend? What I recommend is either going the lab testing route first, using our starter kit, plus I would do the thyroid adrenal hormone. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we would test for all of your vitamin levels, your gut levels, and then we would test all of your mineral levels and heavy metals to see actually what you need to do. Do you need to do the CBO protocol? Do you need to do the heavy metal detox? Because you very well may, but we don't know. Again, are they going to hurt you? Absolutely not. They're only going to help you. So again, it's never bad to do. But if you're thinking about, I don't know if I should do it or not, well, you can go by your symptoms, yes, and you can do the protocol, or you can lab test. That's up to you. Now, after getting off birth control, I would wait about 8 to 12 weeks and then run that. In the future, it's going to be called the Complete Thyroid 2.0, which is just everything for the thyroid and with the adrenal. Right now, it's called the thyroid adrenal hormone, and it tests both your thyroid and adrenals, as well as insulin, hemoglobin A1C, vitamin D. Great lab. We'll make it easy in the future so that you understand which is which. So here's how I want to look at it for you. I would absolutely do, without a doubt, a 21-day Dr. Cabral detox. I would reset that system once you get off birth control. Get rid of all of the estrogen metabolites that your liver most likely is bogged down with because of being on birth control for 5 years, and birth control being one reason why you can start to block the liver ducts, because you don't release bile as well into the intestines, and that's pretty well proven now. So you seem like you're at a great weight, you're 30 years old, you exercise, you're doing a lot of great things for your body. So 21-day Dr. Cabral detox. Then I would maintain with the daily protocol, without a doubt. I would start to get those omega-3s in your body. I would start to get vitamin D in there. I would get the daily fruit and vegetable blend, the daily nutritional support for everything you need, and of course, a good probiotic, the daily probiotic support. That's what I would do. And the other thing is, like, for exact details, I went into this in depth on a podcast I did called How to Have a Healthy and Happy Pregnancy. So you can look that up at stephencabral.com/podcast. That was a 30-minute podcast on what to do before you get pregnant, what to do while pregnant, and what to do after you deliver your baby. So there's that. And then I did an hour and a half on this topic with Melissa Ambrosini. And that podcast is also linked up at stevencabral.com/podcast. And if you ever can't find one, you can even just email in at cabralsupportgroup.com. Sorry, not an email, but a Facebook group, and we'll answer it right there. We answer so many questions every single day with my health coaching team, so that are absolutely amazing. All right, hopefully that helps. Denise is up next. I recently completed your Candida protocol and added some grapefruit seed extract for the H. pylori. When I used the grapefruit seed extract, it triggered some RA reaction. I followed up with the 90-day heal and seal protocol for the gut, and I still have some nail ridges and inflammatory problems. I was thinking of trying your parasite protocol, but if I use oregano, grapefruit seed, or garlic, my stomach and gut hurts. Will this protocol give me an RA reaction? Do you think I'm missing something? Is my gut not healing? I'm on an autoimmune paleo protocol and have done more functional tests. No major problems were noted except Candida and H. pylori, and tried other protocols that didn't seem to work. Can histamine or FODMAP be a part of my problems? I listen to your podcast, really love them. Really appreciate your guidance to healing my gut that you can give me. You're amazing. Thank you, Denise. All right. Thank you, Denise. So let's get into it. I work with so many people with rheumatoid arthritis, including myself, and including all of my parents, and my grandparents are no longer with me, but and they had their share of RA issues as well. So RA, we like to look at that as what's triggering an immune-based reaction. So you can have a couple reasons for RA. One is you might not do well with histamines and citrus-based fruit. Like that could just be one of the things that triggers you to produce more cytokine, prostaglandin 2 inflammatory-based reactions in your body. So there's a couple reasons. So one is you may need more omega-3s. That's one. The second, and especially EPA, the second is that we want to make sure that your gut's sealed. I want to give you a third reason that's very, very important, is that you might have a sensitivity, though, to the die-off reaction and your liver being congested. So there's always that. And so if you use the Citracidal drops again, what I recommend is instead of doing 3 drops the first week, then 4 drops, and then 5 drops, and being done with it after the 3 weeks, is to just do 1 drop. Like, are you okay at 1 drop? Because it's so powerful, and of course it does work. Now, if Citracidal isn't working great for you, we also use another product called Biocidin, and you're welcome to use that instead. The only way that I can tell you for sure whether it's a Candida or bacterial overgrowth protocol is if you were to run the organic acids test, and then I would give you my exact recommendations. Right now, I'm going off of, could it be, it's not going to be FODMAP if you've gotten rid of the Candida-based issues, because that's a good thing. Like, you need to eat some FODMAP foods to bring back the good bacteria in your gut. And we introduce them after about 6 weeks. So we very gently add them in. Now, one of the things I can tell you, once I got rid of my Candida and my SIBO and my H. pylori, what I did was I made sure I didn't have any parasites. So you want to make sure you don't have any parasites. That's with the stool test that we recommend. And again, all this is linked up. Or you can just always go to Equilibrium Nutrition and just use the search bar and type in stool if you want, and you'll find the stool test. So those are all the ones I recommend, of course. I read them for you, and you get a lab coaching call with one of my health coaches that takes you through those recommendations. What else can I tell you about this? Okay, one more thing the only thing left that will trigger me to this day are overdoing nightshades in my diet or overdoing any type of high lectin foods. Now, again, I'm not an advocate of removing lectin foods from your diet. I'm going to repeat that. I'm not an advocate of removing FODMAP or lectin or anything from your diet that's a healthy food in the long run. May you have to do it for a period of 4 to 12 weeks? The answer is yes. Should it last longer than that? The answer is no, unless you have certain trigger foods. I have certain trigger foods, which means that I just can't eat them for every day for a week in a row, and those would include nightshade foods. So there is a part where genetics do matter. Now, they don't matter unless you really overdo it or you present to the environment. So could I have potatoes with the skins? Could I have tomatoes? Can I have all of those higher nightshade foods? The answer is yes. What if I were to have them twice a day, every day for a week? Might I start to get some joint pain in my thumbs again? The answer would be yes. So what I'm telling you to do too is begin to look at your trigger foods. Okay. But you have to just figure out why that is. If it's a trigger food, it's a trigger food, and that's your body reacting to that. Okay, so fine, we eliminate the few foods. That's a big deal. One more thing though, with the nail ridges, keep in mind your nails are going to take 6 to 12 months to grow out fully. So it just depends on how fast your nails grow. So I just want to add that to your knowledge base. That's all. All right. You're on the right track for sure. You're doing great. So let's now move on to Anna. Anna's writing in, hello, I hope you can help me with my question related to my dad, who's 83 and his itchy eyes and a mouth over the last few months developed this behavior now of rubbing his eyes and mouth constantly. We have brought him to see various doctors and opticians, but the problem doesn't seem to be improving. I'm not sure if it's anxiety now that is causing him to do this, or appreciate your help. You know, a lot of times I work with people and tell you, sometimes it's a simple answer that we just don't see it because we're in it every day. To me, this sounds like a simple environmental, mold, or food-related allergy sensitivity. So, like, without even doing lab testing, I would ask your dad, we know this has just happened over the last few months. What new foods have you included over the last few months, even if they're the healthiest foods in the world, right? Even if you're just like, well, I've been eating broccoli now. Okay, well, everything is suspect in my practice. Everything is suspect. You mean the healthiest food in the world, like, there's no way it could be that. It can always be that. Remember, like, always, it could be that. So, what new foods have you started using over the last few months? What new supplements? What new herbs? What new medications? What new dish detergent? What new laundry detergent have you using? What new toothpaste? That's a big one. So, and again, in the rain barrel effect, I talk about all of these different things. All of them matter. Your dad obviously has some type of either there's liver congestion there, there's maybe a gut permeability, but something overflowed his rain barrel in the last few months. I don't know what it is. There's no way an optician is going to be able to tell you that for itchy eyes. They're just going to say, I don't know, or let's just keep an eye on it, or like, that's the thing. They're not trained to go deep. It's never their fault. They're just not trained. So, yes, I mean, you could say, well, is it a histamine reaction? Yes, it is. Yeah, it could be, right? But why is he having a histamine reaction, or why is he having a type of allergen? Because it might not be histamines. It could be leukotrienes. It could be some other type of immune-based reaction. So, again, was it because we moved into a certain season and then things might have been more moldy? Did his basement get flooded and now there's molds, right? So, like, I don't know, but all I can do is point you in the direction that something happened the last few months, most likely, that, yeah, things have been building for years, but there's something that overflowed your dad's rain barrel. All right, so hopefully that helps, and I know you'll be able to find your answer without a doubt. Okay, so just do some detective work. That's what we're all about. We are basically health detectives. Julie's up next. Dr. Cabral and team. I just finished reading your book, The Rain Barrel Effect, and had a look at your online shop. I noticed that your Australian shipping costs are $59. Is there any minimum order value which would allow you to ship to Australia without any extra shipping costs? Thanks for writing in, Julia. As of 11/5, so November 5th, this was written in on September 9th, you have the exact cost of what it takes to ship to Australia. There is no added cost. There's no added fees. So it's exactly the price now for Australia of what it is. We were spending like $200-something to ship to Australia for some packages, some $130. There was nothing ever below like $29. So before, since we couldn't get an average, we just set it at $59. And we were losing a lot of money shipping to Australia, but we have a lot of wellness clients in Australia. I said we have to get packages to them. We just can't lose a lot of money. We can lose some, but we can't lose a lot. Now, I can honestly say this. They're the number one logistics company in the United States and working on international. So we have the exact cost that it ships now to Australia, not a penny more. So here's the other interesting thing, though. You'll sometimes pay a little bit of a fee to your government for an import tax. We have no control over that. Honestly, I wish I could say well, there's a way around it, but there's not. Your government charges you an import fee when you take things in from some companies from the U.S. We can't do anything about that, but yes, shipping for Australia is somewhere around maybe like $20-something, and then it can go up to maybe $50-60-something now, and it's exact. So just want you to know that. When you go to equilibriumnutrition.com and you go to checkout, you'll see exactly what it is. All right, Joey's up next. Joey's asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. I have a question regarding vitamin D blood levels. You seem to be a supporter of 50 to 70 nanograms for basically everyone. I've been reading about vitamin D, and some brilliant people suggested that your advice might not be ideal and might be harmful for some. The reason is that we know we aren't deficient to check out only 25-hydroxy-D, but also PTH and Citracidal. Apparently, what we want is suppression of PTH. We want to see whether... Okay, so I totally understand what you're saying, but this is just... we're talking about less than 1% of the population. If you work with me in a private practice and you're someone that says, I have an autoimmune-based issue and I have a very highly sensitive immune system, might I want you at less vitamin D? Possibly. But what I want is to create a healthy, balanced body. You're talking about things, again, at a surface level. So I understand what you're saying, and I understand the advice of some of the people that you're talking about. But the problem is, you're not talking about overall 99.99% of the population. You're not talking about all the literature that fully supports 50 to 70 nanograms, but you're also, they can be higher. So I've said it can be all the way up to basically 100 for those people working with a doctor on cancer-based support, right? Because you want to boost that immune system as much as you can. But 70 to 80 is basically the upper limit for healthy people. And that's what it's been shown for healthy people. Below 50 is not ideal. Now on lab work, 30 or below, everyone agrees is too low. And again, you're talking about if calcium goes down. We agree, but we're always working on calcium at the same time. So we don't test vitamin D in a bubble. We're doing hair tissue mineral analysis. We're working on sympathetic nervous system dominance, which would pull the vitamin D in. And the other thing is, and I've talked about this, why most studies aren't that great either, people are testing vitamin D as dangerous when they give them 50,000 or 300,000 IUs at a time. We recommend a small dosage on a daily basis so that people bring up their vitamin D levels. When you go to a conventional medicine doctor, they recommend 50,000 IUs once a week or once a month. That will make you more hypercalcemic in the blood. So again, you always have to look at everything from a total base picture rather than like nitpicking individual blood levels. It's always looking at the entire person, all the labs, rather than just one number. So I hope that helps. And you're on the right path. I totally understand where you're coming from. I was there. You're always kind of looking for the answer. But for the most part, sometimes we get too in the weeds when what we're talking about actually holds us back in the long run, because a healthy human being is someone that has the proper amount of electrolytes, and that includes calcium, and they're not taking too much vitamin D, just enough to support their overall immune system and health. All right, Denise is up next. I recently completed your Candida protocol and added some grapefruit seed extract. This is the same exact question as before, and it just got submitted twice. All right, Denise, we answered your question. We're moving on to the next. Let's just delete this from my notes so that my team does not double up that one. All right. Anonymous is up next. We'll make this the last question today. I am a 33-year-old female and I have a nagging symptom. I have an itch on the outer of my vagina. It's only on the left side in one area. It's outside, not internal, not where one would notice yeast. I have talked to my OB and given the suggestion of applying coconut oil. This started 2 summers ago. It's a persistent itch and cannot be ignored when it's flared most intense in the morning, and at night, I don't really have an issue during the day. I'm sexually active. My husband and I only have been with each other, and I have no suspicion of STDs. Shower immediately after workout, no underwear bed, stop using soap, change to no longer using any products, low chemicals. I also did the CBO protocol and the gut sailor just in case. I did the food sensitivity test and eliminated all of them. I do the nutritional support, eliminated grains and lectins. I do not shave, but carefully trim. What else could I be missing? Okay, so these are all great information-based pieces. So this looks like one acute specific area of the body, and I would just want to make sure that you've run the organic acids test. Like that's, even if you only read one, that's all I would do. And for you, if I had to say, can I pick a second, it would probably be the omega-3, or just start supplementing with omega-3s. The last part is, again, we'll try a very small area, but if this is just a localized patch of ringworm, fungal overgrowth, I mean, that's what it seems like to me. Like this is a localized area. You didn't mention you have any digestive issues. You didn't mention that you have constipation or loose stool or anything else. So what I'd like to do is, great, you use some Neosporin, you use some coconut oil. Let's use something a little bit stronger. And what I'm recommending are potentially, for just about 3 to 5 days, boric acid suppositories, followed by lactobacillus, or just a L-acidophilus-based vaginal suppository to correct the pH of your vagina. And then the last part I would recommend is a topical-based solution, which is first going to be tea tree oil. And I would recommend doing that for about 10 to 14 days. The tea tree oil we can add to just a little bit of either olive oil, sesame oil, or jojoba oil, which is jojoba. So we want the tea tree oil to be strong enough to do its job, but not too strong that it doesn't burn. So of course, we'll test a very small area. If that does not seem to be doing exactly what we want, the next thing we want to do is use the Citracidal drops. And we'll do that in the same way, about 2 drops with just maybe about a half a teaspoon or so of the jojoba oil. So we'll use that. We'll use that for, again, about 10 to 14 days. If that's not it, we have to look at deeper. And the reason why that this might be something of interest to work on with the practitioners, because then you'll have the back and forth. So you can work with your local naturopathic doctor or functional medicine doctor or integrative health practitioner. And that's because you don't really have an issue during the day. So it's most intense in the morning and at night. So it's very interesting. I would also ask you, where are you in the morning and at night? And are you in a different place during the day? Meaning, are you having, for whatever reason, a localized itching allergic-based reaction to kind of what I spoke about before, mold or something in the environment and house where, for whatever reason, instead of you getting an itch on your arms or you getting an itch on your stomach, you get an itch on your groin. So that's what I would look at as well. And then at the same time, you may want to run what's called a thyroid adrenal hormone lab, or even just an adrenal hormone, and see if you have low cortisol in the morning, low cortisol at night, and it's normal during the day. Because this, again, we always make cortisol into the bad guy or bad girl, but the truth is that cortisol is a natural anti-inflammatory. And I've seen this quite a bit as well. So you could all say, like, well, how do I know? If you had a cup of coffee with caffeine, that's typically going to raise catecholamines and glucocorticoids, just basically adrenaline and cortisol. And if that takes the itch away, well, it very well could be, for whatever reason, we have a lack of or too low of production of cortisol, but there's still a trigger, right? There's still something below. It's like, what's causing this itch? So I would love to see an organic acids test. I would love to see a thyroid adrenal hormone, and you can still start with the topical things that I mentioned. Again, whenever I give recommendations on the Cabral concept, these are just suggestions. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not curing, I'm not treating, and I'm not diagnosing disease. Those are all things that natural health practitioners don't do. That is reserved for the realm of conventional medicine. All right, that is it for today's Cabral concept. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you're having an amazing weekend, and I'll talk with you tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Talk with you then. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.